Hello and welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast. I am your host, Mark Henry Jr., and you can follow me at Mark Henry Jr. _ You can follow the podcast at Tough Cover Pod, and you can follow the Painted Lines at the Painted Lines, and please subscribe wherever you're watching this on the Painted Lines on YouTube. So we are here to talk about Week 2 in the NFL and my best bets in Week 2 in the NFL. But first, I have a quick plug for you guys. Here we go. I mentioned it yesterday. Nick Sirianni was wearing the shirt. You see me wearing the shirt right here. You got to go get your own. It's a fire shirt from Everything's Fine podcast. Go follow Everything's Fine. It's a podcast that I co-host on Mondays and Wednesdays with Kyle Pagan. He is a great Philly sports host. Everyone's got to go check him out, and everyone's got to go check this shirt out right here. Go buy it. Don't look at any of the bots on Twitter that are stealing this design. Go buy this shirt. Rent's due. Jalen Hurts. And we are going to get today started on this podcast, on the Tough Cover Podcast for Week 2, talking about the Philadelphia Eagles game versus the San Francisco 49ers. And I have 3 bets on this game. I've got 11 bets total and 1 teaser. We'll get down to it. So we'll start it off. Eagles +4 versus the 49ers for 1.5 units. Eagles +170 versus the 49ers for 3 units. And Eagles team total over 22.5 for 2 units. How could you not roll into Sunday feeling great about our Philadelphia Eagles after last week? Hurts looked like a star. Our running game was great. We held the Falcons to 6. Coach Sirianni is wearing a shirt from a podcast I'm on. I can no longer be objective about this team, about our very own Ted Lasso at coach for Nick Sirianni. But I'm absolutely riding sky high with this Eagles team. The vibes are absolutely great. And on the other hand, you look at the other side, the vibes are not so high. Kyle Shanahan, by the way, a quick little nugget of a stat here, is 7-18-1 against the spread as a favorite. And that's not to mention, the 49ers have a nightmare injury report coming into Philly for the second straight year. 49ers lost Mostert in Week 1, and they let their backup running back, Elijah Mitchell, take the work instead of Trey Sermon, who was a healthy scratch, their third-round pick, who I think is an absolute stud. All the reports today, Ian Rappaport just reported it, all the reports out there today are that Elijah Mitchell is getting the workload as the feature back in this 49ers offense. I'm hoping that's true. I'm praying that the 49ers don't give Sermon a chance today, because if Sermon's as good as I think he is, I think once they give him a chance, he is going to strangle that running back situation away from Elijah Mitchell and be a star in that offense. Everyone always says you can put any running back in that Shanahan offense, and he's going to be pretty good. What happens if you put an actually good one in there? And I think Trey Sermon has the potential to be that. He's a great pass blocking back. He can catch the ball, and he can run between the tackles. I think he's got it all. So I'm really hoping they stick with Mitchell and Hasty, because I think Sermon would unlock another level of that offense that we didn't even see last week when they scored 41 but struggled in the second half. So I really think that's kind of an X factor that I'm looking at. This 49ers rushing attack. We've been very good at stopping the run. We were very good at stopping the run last week. So that's going to be a very important thing that I'm paying attention to in this game. The 49ers also, on the injury report, lost their best linebacker in Dre Greenlaw, who had a pick 6 last week and is a fantastic player. But most importantly, above all of the injuries for the 49ers, from an injury front, the 49ers have lost their top cornerback in Verrett, who had his 4th knee injury in 6 years. I mean, that is a lot of knee injuries. So I know a lot of people emphasize, the 49ers get so unlucky. The 49ers, they have all these injuries after week 1, after week 2, every single year. They are also one of the teams out there that's willing to take a chance on injury risk players all the time. So if they get praised when they took a chance on Sherman a few years ago and he ended up staying healthy, they should also probably get some flack for taking a chance on so many of these injury risk guys like Mostert, who's had plenty of problems, and like Jason Verrett, who's had plenty of problems. The 49ers paid these guys. The 49ers invested in these guys. They knew the injury risk. So I understand the injury. You can't predict injury. And like Howie Roseman likes to say, hope is not a strategy with injuries. But I mean, I don't know if that's unluckiness or if that's just investing in the wrong guys. And then you look at from the running the ball standpoint, the Lions were able to run the ball all game long against the 49ers, and they stopped in the third quarter because they were behind so big because their defense is absolutely terrible. And they only started succeeding in the air once Verrett went out with an injury. I think the 49ers secondary is a serious problem without Verrett that Hurts can hopefully exploit. All in all, like I said at the top, the Eagles' vibes are immaculately good, impossibly good. And the 49ers' vibes are bad. I haven't even mentioned the 49ers benching Brandon Ayuk, their best receiver. Potentially maybe Debo took a step in front of him after the big game last week. They benched Ayuk, maybe their best receiver, for being in the doghouse for practice reasons, not having a good spring training. I'm talking baseball. Sorry, my mind's on the Phillies. Training camp. I mean, Brandon Ayuk's an absolute stud. He's a guy I really wanted the Eagles to take instead of Rager last year. He's a guy who had a really, really good rookie season. I think he had somewhere around 65 catches, 800 yards, maybe 800 plus. Really good season for Ayuk. I don't understand why you would bench him. The guys that filled in for him didn't play well. No one besides Debo or Kittle had more than 2 receptions. I know that they put up 41 points, but they definitely let the Lions back in that game and took their foot off the gas. So I'm going with the vibes. This is a Birds Sunday. I'm taking the Eagles to win. I'm taking them to cover, and I like them to score over 22.5 points. My favorite bet in there is the money line. If you can juice it up, get it. There's some odds boosts out there on some sites that I'm not going to mention. No free ads, but I'm going Eagles 31. 49ers 27. I'm going to try to give out some scores at the end of my predictions here. And if you guys have any comments, any thoughts on my picks, any picks of your own, throw them in the comments and I'll put them up on the screen. So let's get to my next game at 1 o'clock. And I'm staying in the Philadelphia realm here. You'll hear why in a second. I'm going with the LA Rams minus 3.5 at the Indianapolis Colts for 3 units. Excuse me, but why am I supposed to think that Carson Wentz can beat who I think is the best team in the league with a terrible wide receiver core and a bad O-line? Also, Carson Wentz, meet Aaron Donald. You're going to be well acquainted. Aaron Donald is going to be terrorizing Carson Wentz all day long. Wentz's numbers didn't look bad from last week. If you didn't watch the game, you could look at the box score and you could be like, Wentz was pretty good. Wentz wasn't that bad. But he was dinking and dunking up a storm. 6.6 yards per attempt last week and took far, far, far too many hits. Now, why did he take too many hits? There's 3 reasons. 1, his wide receiver core is terrible and can't get separation. Sound familiar? 2, his O-line is not very good. Sound familiar? And 3, and most importantly, he has no spatial awareness in the pocket and holds onto the ball for far too long. When that was a trait coming out of North Dakota State, his innate sense of pressure in the pocket was something I absolutely loved coming out of college. I don't know if it's the injuries. I don't know what happened. He has absolutely lost that aspect of his game. And that all of these problems sound so familiar from Philadelphia. It just seems to me like too many things from Philly are repeating themselves in Indy. 6.6 yards per attempt says a lot. It says there's not a lot of stretching the field. And we all know Carson Wentz has a weak deep ball. And if Carson Wentz isn't as mobile as he was in the past, if he's not sensing pressure as he was in the past, he better improve that deep ball. And it doesn't appear that he has, or at least it doesn't appear that Reich believes in it enough to take some shots down the field. And then on the other side, for the Rams, they have a top 5 coach in football in Sean McVay. They have 2 top defensive players in the NFL in Aaron Donald, who's probably number 1, and Jalen Ramsey at corner. And that's on top of an absolutely elite offense, which obviously Sean McVay plays a big part of. I just think Vegas and the Sharps are way off here. They're way off on this Colts team, just like they were last week. Rams 28, Colts 14. I'm all over the Rams. So then we're going with a Pat Moran special here for my 5th bet. And it's Christian McCaffrey over 41.5 receiving yards for 2.5 units. This is up to 45.5, 46.5, I believe now. I got it earlier in the week, and CMC had gone over this total in 9 of his last 11 games. CMC had 9 catches for 90 yards last game in a game that Carolina was winning all game. His game last year, he had 10 for 86 in his last game. Carolina may be down in this game, which would mean they're throwing. And if they're throwing, they're going to be throwing to Christian McCaffrey. But even if they're up, we saw last week he will be a target in this offense, and he averages 7 yards a target. I think he gets 8 for 80, and I think we cashed this in the third quarter. I think this is going to be a good one. Shout out to Pat Moran. When he first sent me this player prop, I knew that I was going all in on it, so I bet that on Tuesday. So let's move on to my last bet of the 1 o'clock slate, and it is the New England Patriots -4.5 at the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium, which is a dump, by the way. Hate that stadium. But I'm going Patriots -4.5 for 3 units. This is a stupid line, and that's why I took it on Sunday. It's now up to -6. The public and the sharps are still all over the Pats, it appears. I'll get in line, and I'll back the Pats to get Mac Jones his first NFL win. Zach Wilson, I mean, he looked like he was running for his life on Sunday against the Panthers. He was sacked 6 times, tied for the most in the NFL, and led the NFL among quarterbacks in pressure rate at 46.5%. In other words, the Jets O-line stinks, and every D-line's going to be attacking Zach Wilson, and they're going to be blitzing, and they lost Mekhi Becton, their best tackle. So, yeah, you take all that, enjoy playing against Bill Belichick and the Patriots defense. Rookie quarterbacks are 6-21 with a 54% completion percentage and 21 touchdowns to 37 picks against Belichick. I know a lot of people are going to hear that stat and say, oh, a lot of those quarterbacks stink. A lot of those are like DeShone Kizer, but that's not necessarily the case. You look at last year, they beat Justin Herbert and the Chargers 45-0. They handed Herbert by far his worst loss of his career and the worst performance he's had in his career. So that's a big number there. I remember betting on the Chargers in that game and feeling like an idiot. I'll never bet on a rookie quarterback against Belichick again, and I'm riding with Belichick here. I think the Pats are going to punish Zach Wilson, and I don't think the Jets will be able to run the ball with their lackluster 3-headed running back committee with Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman. None of those guys are good enough. I wasn't as high on Mac Jones in week 1 as others, but he will do just enough to win this game. Pats 30, Jets 14. I don't think that's even going to be like there could be a pick 6 in there. There could be a scoop and score. Start the Pats D in fantasy, or if you're in DFS out there, I'm sure Pats D is a good play. So let's move on to my only late afternoon game. I have one bet on the late afternoon slate, and I know Eagles, Jalen Hurts. I know I'm an Eagles guy. I know I'm a Philly guy. The Philly fans out there are not going to like this upcoming pick. But I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys +3.5 at the LA Chargers for 3 units. And I'm also going with the Dallas Cowboys +140 on the money line at the LA Chargers for 3 units. I loved this when it opened at 3 on Monday. I love it even more now at 3.5. But the DeMarcus Lawrence news definitely has me a bit more nervous than I otherwise would be. I was not overly impressed with Brandon Staley as a coach in week 1. And I also was very I really thought their running game and Austin Eckler was a strength for this Chargers team. It didn't seem like it was all that great. I know Washington's a solid defense, at least up front, but Herbert's a stud. I'm not saying he's not. And this Dallas defense sucks, but I expect a big bounce back game from Zeke. I expect this Cowboys offense to really put it on the Chargers, and I expect a high scoring Cowboys win. This is also a game that Dallas has 3 extra days of rest for after playing on Thursday in week 1. And this is going to be a very pro-Cowboys crowd at SoFi Stadium in LA with all the front-runner Cowboys fans in LA from the 90s. And because also the Chargers don't have fans, so that hasn't changed yet. So this is going to be a Cowboys crowd. And I expect everyone to be on the Chargers in this game. Everyone I've heard loves the Chargers to win this game. I like the Cowboys. Cowboys 38. Chargers 30. And now for Sunday night football, for my bet of the week, my best bet, my lock of the night, my play of the weekend, and I've got 3 of them. They all go hand in hand. Chiefs -1.5 at Ravens for 3 units. Chiefs -3 at Ravens for 2 units. And then alternate spread, Chiefs -6.5 at Ravens for 2 units at +150. I got all of these on Sunday and Monday. I got -1.5 on Sunday when it opened. Me and Pat Moran could not believe it, and I hit it again before it got to 3.5 at 3. And then I dropped them on the table here. Took the alternate spread at Chiefs -6.5 at +150. I just don't see how this is a 1-possession game, and I'm a Lamar guy. Harbaugh is 1-5 against his former, his mentor, Andy Reid, and has lost his last 5 to Reid, 4 of which have been with Reid coaching the Kansas City Chiefs. So obviously Lamar has never beaten the Chiefs. Mahomes has never lost to the Ravens. Lamar had his worst career game last year against KC, throwing for only 97 yards. The Chiefs have done a better job containing Lamar than any other team in the NFL, in my opinion. So that is going to be a big factor in today's game. Is Lamar just going to be a nothing against the Chiefs yet again? I'm not generally someone who gets on Lamar. I think that their O-line has a lot of problems. I think their play calling is rough. I think they've never invested in a receiver. His best receiver he's ever played with is probably Willie Snead. I think there's plenty of problems that go beyond Lamar, but KC has done a great job at making Lamar one-dimensional and not being able to let him throw. So, and more importantly than anything, and the main reason I love the Chiefs in this game, we saw last week with the Browns. The Browns played great, but they made two big mistakes with a fumble while in the red zone and then a messed up punt in their own red zone. And the Chiefs took over and won that game and controlled it to finish the game. You have to play a damn near perfect game to beat a fully healthy Chiefs team when Mahomes has a full O-line, when Mahomes has Tyreek and Kelsey, when the defense isn't ravaged. If the Chiefs are healthy, you're going to have to play a perfect game to beat them, especially with how good Mahomes has been in September. You look at his September numbers. He's never lost in September. He starts every year insanely hot. So, Patrick Mahomes, I expect him to go off tonight. I expect him to have a fantastic performance. And I expect the Chiefs maybe not to shut down Lamar like they did last year, but I expect them to control the game. And I expect them to, at least if it gets close, if it gets ever, into a tight game, I expect the Chiefs to be able to handle Lamar and to at least contain him. So we're going Chiefs every which way. So, and then I had my parlays from Thursday that I tweeted out today. I had Tampa money line, or not Tampa money line. Jesus, that's from last Thursday. Washington football team money line with three-team parlays. It's Patriots money line with the Cardinals money line at plus 228 for 1.5 units. Rams money line with the Cardinals money line at plus 244 for 1.5 units. And then Eagles plus 170 and Cowboys plus 140 at plus 930 for 1 unit. All of those are with Washington from Thursday. And then my teaser is Patriots, how the Chiefs, I said it before, I don't see how the Ravens keep that as a one-possession game. So let me run down my card before I get you guys out of here. Eagles plus 4 versus the 49ers for 1.5 units. Eagles plus 170 versus the 49ers for 3 units. Eagles team total over 22.5 for 2 units. Rams minus 3.5 at the Colts for 3 units. Pats minus 4.5 at the Jets for 3 units. Christian McCaffrey over 41.5 receiving yards for 2.5 units. And then at 425, I have the Cowboys plus 3.5 at the LA Chargers for 3 units. And I have the Cowboys plus 140 at the LA Chargers for 3 units. And on Sunday Night Football, I have Chiefs with the Ravens at plus 140 for 2 units. And then a teaser at Patriots plus 1 and Chiefs plus 3.5. So thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for being a part of the Tough Cover Click. Enjoy the winners.